Flosstube. My name is Becca and I'm SamBrie Stitches here on Flosstube and other social media platforms. Welcome to the February special edition of Interview with a Flosstuber. I am very happy to be here with Artie, the vintage stitcher. Now, this is kind of a fun little story. Artie had reached out to me via Annie, the proper stitcher, and I am so happy that she did because I discovered her channel and really enjoy watching all of her videos because she does things a little bit different than some of the other Flosstubers, and we'll get into that a little bit, but she is just doing some cool things from regular Flosstube updates, filled with stitching and her other crafts that we'll get into, to vlog style life updates, which is kind of fun to watch. I really enjoy, seeing how other people live. And it's just more personal that way. And on top of all of that, she is hosting a retreat, which we may talk about in a little bit, and has a finishing business. Like, she's doing everything. So it's pretty cool. And I'm really excited that we're here to chit chat. If you're not familiar with her channel or anything like that, all of the links will be down below so you can go check her out. But before we jump into questions, would you mind telling us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. My name is Artie. I am from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which is way up north, very close to Canada. I get commented all the time about my accent, which is kind of funny. I don't hear it, but I guess others do.
Yeah.
Like you said, Becca, I have a finishing business. I do cross-stitch finishing. I do quilting and quilt finishing. I have a long arm. And yeah, the YouTube channel. And we'll be hosting a retreat in May up here in the north, which our weather will be much nicer in May than it is right now.
Yeah, beautiful snow though, so I'm a little jealous.
It is beautiful, but it's a lot of work. I live up here with my husband, and many people know, if you watch my channel, my mother-in-law lives with us, so I stay home and take care of her. And then we have 2 senior dogs also, and you'll hear lots and lots about them because they're a pain in the butt.
Yeah, you've told some stories.
I've told some stories.
So before we get into the questions, do you want to talk a little bit more about your cross-stitch finishing? What types of finishings? I know you're a little bit more specific to what you finish.
Yeah, well, I finish just about anything that you can sew. So if you want it sewn into something, that's easy for me. I do a lot of mounted finishing also. I can do drums and biscornues and pin cushions and that sort of thing. I get asked a lot if I do framing, and I do not do framing. That is an art all of its own. But as far as finishing, anything that it can be sewn or mounted to, I'm all over it. And I do carry a lot of pieces here. So if somebody said, oh, I want it mounted to a paddle, but I don't have a paddle, it's just as easy for me to have a paddle here that I can paint and customize to the piece, because then I know it's going to fit.
Yeah.
So I do carry a lot of that stuff in stock. So I do offer that too.
And I know that some people have sent you their finishing fabrics that they want to go with it, or finishing pieces, and you use those too, right?
Right. Absolutely. So if you have a specific fabric or trim you want to use, send it along. I always return the extra back to you in your package coming back.
Nice. Well, hopefully we'll get you some more people sending stuff. I know you did a really cool promo for the month of January, so
right,
people can keep an eye out for if you do any other promos throughout the year.
Yes.
Pretty neat.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into the questions and get going on those. The first question is, why did you start a Flosstube, and were there any particular motivations?
I think I started the Flosstube more to be accountable to myself. The cross-stitching community here where I live is very slim. I have a handful of friends that are cross-stitchers. But throughout the pandemic, that kind of when we all kind of went our separate ways, which was really hard, and we don't meet as often as we would like. So it was a way of talking cross stitch and staying accountable and staying on task for myself and getting things finished. Otherwise, I was kind of just off into left field all over the place with all my crafts, and I was accumulating but not getting anything done. So it was a good way for me to be accountable to
Yep.
to get things done.
Yeah. I think I can see that with me too, because like right now I really want to focus on one piece because I want to get it done, the piece for my husband. But I also really have other stuff to do. And if I want content for my, channel, you kind of have to be held accountable of stitching on a few different things, like focusing and balancing. So I get that. Yeah.
You have to get stuff done. Yes, exactly.
It's nice to have that for sure. So how did you come up with your channel name?
The Vintage Stitcher. I am absolutely in love with all the patterns from like the 80s and 90s. I just love them. And in the 80s, I was a teenager, so I didn't stitch as much as I do now. And in the 90s, I was a young mom and I could not afford those patterns.
Yeah.
So now that my kids are grown and I have a little bit more expendable money, I'm going back and I'm buying all those patterns that I really, really wanted in the 80s and 90s, but now they're considered vintage.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from.
Hurts my heart that it's considered vintage. So right there with you.
Babies. I know we're just
up in the 80s, I was probably, oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I like, we could just call ourselves vintage now instead of, people saying I'm old. We're just aged nicely.
Exactly.
No, but that's neat that you dedicated it to your love of the patterns.
Right.
Pretty neat.
Yeah.
So how did you learn to stitch and how long have you been stitching?
Oh, I've been stitching my whole life, it seems like. When I was like 11 and 12, you go through that babysitting phase because you can't really have a real job.
Yes.
And I babysat for this neighbor. And I've never been a TV person. I didn't grow up with a lot of TV. So to babysit and watch TV was very boring for me.
Mm-hmm.
And this woman that I babysat for always had this beautiful cross stitch work going on her end table and in her house and stuff like that. I was like, absolutely love it. Would you teach me how to do that? So she taught me. So so I've been stitching since I was like 12 years old. That's what, 30 years? Yeah. So it's been a long time, and it's waxed and waned over the years. You give it up for a while and then you come back to it, and depends on where you are in life. But
yeah, I did the same thing off and on for many, many years. So
right.
Yeah. So do you happen to have a favorite project that you've stitched?
My absolute favorite project that I stitched was My Hometown by Kathy Barrick. And it's a big one. It's a huge, huge project. It was my very first multi-page project. I had always kind of, even though I've only stitched this maybe 4 years ago, but no, within the last 2 years, because I did it on Flosstuber. So up to that point, I had always just done one page, smalls. I had never really tackled anything like huge.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was a huge project and a huge undergoing, and it took me months to do it. But I look at it and I absolutely love it. So
I love pieces like that. You put a lot of time and love into it. And,
right.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about stitching?
Well, I'm sure everybody says this, but the shopping.
No, actually, no, not very many people have said the shopping. I love that.
I love to shop for patterns. My favorite part is actually kitting up my patterns.
No.
I love to sit on the floor with a good movie, have all my patterns, my floss, my fabric around me, and I love to kit it all up and get it all organized and plan and all of that. So that's my favorite part of stitching, is the kitting it up and having fun and
shopping. I mean, the shopping is a good part. It's very therapeutic. I've done that the past few days. Gets you through some tough times.
It does.
Up. I do not enjoy that part at all.
Oh, I love it. I love it. It's the organizer in me, I think.
I guess I'm not a very organized person. I don't like the kitting up and I don't like the putting away. I'll have like piles of floss and it gets so big. I'm like, I really have to take time and put this away now. So I need to get better with that because that's overwhelming, but I don't enjoy those two things.
I don't enjoy the putting away.
No, putting away, no. So we're gonna get out of Stitchy Talk a little bit and learn some more about you. And so what's your favorite genre of book or movie?
My books, I'm a total Stephen King fan. I'm all about the horror and the gore and the blood and those are really, I don't get a lot of time to read, but if I'm going to read, it's going to be a Stephen King book. Movies, kind of the same thing, the ghost stories and the gory and the horror and not like slasher movies, but more suspenseful movies like that. Yeah.
Nice. Yes, I love my Stephen King books.
Yes.
Definitely grew up reading those.
I think we all did in the 80s. That was like the author to be reading.
Yep. So what fictional place would you most like to go to?
Hogwarts.
That is a very, very popular answer in our stitching community.
I bet it is. I think a lot of us grew up with, or our kids grew up with Harry Potter.
Yes.
I mean, I've read the books countless times and we've watched all the movies and we've gone to all the movies in theaters. So it's just, Harry Potter and Hogwarts is like the place to be.
Yes. I think we've said in a few interviews that, there should be a huge group of us that just meet at like Disney World and get our Harry Potter fix that way. Yes. Like a little stitchy retreat at Disney World.
Yep. And then stitch in the evening.
Yes. I think that would be fun.
That sounds perfect.
In line would not be fun, but So if you could choose to do anything for a day, what would it be?
Oh, that is hard.
Kind of gets you thinking.
I kind of do it. My day-to-day life is pretty nice. I get up and I cook and I clean and I take care of things here and I stitch every day or I craft every day, that sort of thing. So, but I do enjoy going to Florida and just sitting on the beach and laying in the sun. That would be, that is quite a treat.
Quiet, relaxing kind of day. Yeah. I think I would enjoy that. Just a day of peace and quiet, no stress, no worrying about, I need to do this or that kind of thing.
Yes.
That would be nice. Yeah. So we touched on this a little bit, but do you have any other hobbies besides cross stitch?
Well, I do the quilting. I quilt. That's a huge one. I do knit and crochet. I kind of dabble in everything. I'll see these fleeting crafts go by and go, "Oh, that's shiny. Let's go try that." So I love needle felting, and that's fun because you sit with a little like tool that has like 50 needles in it, and you just sit and poke holes into this felt. It's very therapeutic.
So that's cool.
I love all crafts, anything crafty. So I'm just not as absorbed into all of them as I am the cross stitch and the quilting.
I find that I every time that I ask this question, I find the answer interesting because it's pretty similar to, people who have other crafts or dabble in other crafts, but they always have cross stitch. And it's crazy how cross stitch has grabbed so many of us, right, that we've gravitated towards it over, like I've tried diamond painting and wool applique and a little bit of quilting, but I don't enjoy those as much as cross stitch. But it seems like the majority of us in the community, the people that I've talked to in these interviews, at least, it's the same thing. It's cross stitch is consistent, and then there's other crafts.
Right. And for me, it's the cross stitch and the quilting are pretty equal. But then there's other crafts. So
that's kind of neat how our brains all work, I guess.
Right.
That's pretty cool. This is one of my favorite questions, and it's, how would your friends describe you?
Oh, That one is a hard one because I'm not quite sure what my friends think of me. um, I'm very type A. So I think my friends all kind of realize that I can be very, everything has to be in a certain order and very organized. And I'm the person where if they need something put together, like say a party or a retreat or a gathering or they need something done, I'm the one they call because I'm going to be on it. I'm going to be making the list. I'm going to be delegating the tasks. I'm going to be making the phone calls. I'm the one who can get it done kind of person. That's how I am. So I think that's kind of how my friends see me as very type A and reliable. And, you know, I'm trying to think of the word, very focused. I'm very focused driven. So
that goes with your organizing and your liking to get up.
yes. Yeah.
I can see that.
Since I kind of chuckle, my husband comes home from work. Since I've been off of work, I left my job out a few weeks ago. All of our cupboards, all of our closets, everything is getting reorganized. I've got things coming in from Amazon to like reorganize all my shelves. And yeah, it's been crazy around here.
More time to organize.
Yes. Yep.
Love it. Love it. So back into stitch, you talk a little bit. How do you prefer to stitch? Do you use like a hoop, a Q-snap, in hand, that kind of thing?
I was a hoop stitcher for decades. It's only been about the last year or so that I taught myself how to stitch in hand. So now when I go back to a hoop, it feels very awkward. I do stitch in hoop depending on the fabric, but I'm mainly in hand now.
Do you notice it's faster? Do you do the sewing method is what you do?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is faster. It is faster.
Yeah. Do you have like a preferred fabric that you lean towards?
18 count Aida.
Yeah. Aida
is my favorite. And I generally stitch with one strand over one on 18 count Aida. That is my go-to fabric for everything. I do enjoy a 28 count once in a while, but not often.
Yep. 18 count, it was my go-to because I'm an Aida stitcher.
Right.
Until I started doing reproductions.
Oh, excuse me.
I know I've been trying not to cough. And I since doing the reproductions, I've had to kind of learn crash course of stitching on linen. I do not enjoy linen at all. At all.
I do not either.
I stitch on it, but I don't like it.
No, I don't care for it. I will do ornaments and real small things on linen, but if I'm going to do anything big, it's going to be on Aida.
Yeah.
And I think over time, there's those people who are like, you have to stitch on linen. It looks the best. It's okay to stitch on Aida.
Yep.
It's okay. It's all okay. So
it is. And like I've done beautiful samplers on Aida. I've done reproduction samplers on Aida. There's nothing wrong with it. I really like 18 and 20 count. The holes are tinier. But I don't know. It's the simplicity and just, I don't want to have to sit there. Linen, I have to put on my magnifiers and then I have to have this big light and then I have to go 1, 2, 3. Okay. Exactly. I don't want to have to go through all of that. I just want to sit and stitch.
Right. Exactly. And the colors of fabric have changed so much.
That is true.
Over the course of time. For a while, the only pretty colors you could get were in linen. And now the dyers and the fabric companies are doing such amazing colors with Aida that there's no reason to struggle.
Yep. That is a very, very good point. There's some beautiful, beautiful hand-dyed Aida out there. So yeah, I love that. So do you have a favorite place that you've traveled and did you bring any stitching along when you went?
I bring stitching along everywhere I go.
Me too.
If we're flying, I bring my stitching along. If we're driving, I bring my stitching along, but I also bring knitting for in the vehicle. My husband likes to travel, but we like to he likes to drive. So our favorite place to go, we have a couple places. We love La Crosse, Wisconsin. you've never been there, it's a beautiful, beautiful city. We love Duluth, Michigan, or Minnesota.
Oh yeah.
My husband likes to watch the boats, so he watches the boats. I sit on a chair and stitch. Yeah,
That
yeah.
sounds like a
So a
perfect.
lot of places where we can just kind of drive to and have a nice weekend. That's our
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah, that's pretty much our speed too. We don't really like to fly all over. I don't think we've ever flown anywhere together. I think, we've
Okay.
driven. So we're right there with you on that. I love it. And I bring my stitching everywhere. Like tomorrow, I have a car appointment in the morning and I bring my full setup because it's like a 2-hour appointment. And
Right.
people stare at me like I am a weirdo. I have no problem.
I always have something that fits in my tote bag.
Yeah.
You never know where you're going to get stuck somewhere.
Well, see, me, I have my Q snap, and then sometimes I even bring my little lap frame. So I don't care.
I don't either. No, we camp a lot. We go camping in the summer a lot. And I have a whole setup for in my camper that I take it. My friends are just used to me sitting outside, visiting and talking and eating and doing whatever, but I'm stitching. I'm always stitching. So
I love that. I think a lot of us stitchers tend to take something with us when we go somewhere. I think we just have to keep our hands kind of busy with something. That's probably with you knitting or whatever too.
yes.
I have never been able to grasp knitting or crochet. I've tried, just can't do it. So it's always
I'm very basic.
well, hey, I mean, it keeps your hands busy and
Exactly.
So I tend to, like, my husband and I go on our Monday adventures because he has every other Monday off from work. And I will always have my stitching. And while we're getting to said place, because we like to go off-roading deep in the mountains. So while we're on the freeways and that kind of stuff, I'll sit there and stitch. But he goes, okay, we're getting close. You need to put it away because you got to watch stuff. Then it goes away. And then
it goes away. Right.
Yeah, but it keeps me busy because,
it does.
in the car, I don't know. My husband's not much of a talker, so I need something to keep busy. He's pretty quiet. So what can you not do without for your stitching? Like your favorite go-to must have besides the basics, of course.
Thread conditioner.
Oh, okay.
I find that I have to have thread conditioner. It's one of those things. I tend to cut my pieces extremely long. So if I don't use it, then they fray and they break and stuff. Where I feel like the thread conditioner helps with that a little bit and gives me a neater stitch. So
I'll have to
that's
try
something that's just the basic thread heaven. I like them. I like it.
I'll have to try that because I did, I think, one Stitch With Me video during the pandemic because I did like daily and I was running out of content. And somebody Stitch With Me. And I just think back to the comments because literally
that's me. Like, oh, you have to do the loop method once in a while.
But then, like, I call myself a lazy stitcher because I would rather have a long piece of thread and just keep going if I know that there's, a lot of that color because, I'd rather just sit there and stitch than try to keep, rethreading.
Right.
Stuff. So, yeah. So we're in the same boat in that. I'm glad I found a fellow, long
yep. Oh, yeah.
People were just like, what the heck is going on?
I know. That's 18
That's how I stitch people.
Just too short for me.
Yes. I know. I have those, what are they? Floss winders where you wrap them around and then you cut them at a certain length. Like, that's too short.
Yeah, exactly. That's how I feel about them too.
That's funny. This is a fun one because I kind of want to, we all, I think, seem to have a similar mindset on this, but how do you decide on what you're going to work on next?
I'm very much a seasonal stitcher. So when I'm going through and I'm doing my kitting up, it's usually for a season. So that's how I kind of decide. I pull out all my patterns and I go through them and go, oh, yep, I've been wanting to do that one. I've been wanting to do that one. And then I'll get a bunch of them kit up for, say, fall or Halloween or Christmas or winter or spring or summer. And then I usually stick within those kits for quite a while and try and get as much of that, done up. And then I go back and kit again. But I'm just very random. Sometimes, like right now, I'm not in the mood to stitch winter stuff this year. So I'm doing a lot of samplers. If I like it, I'm just going to stitch it.
Yeah. And I think that's the mindset for a lot of us, is like whatever's calling to us.
Right.
There are a few that do like a strict rotation, and there are some that are, seasonal stitchers. I used to be like a seasonal decor type of stitcher, but I ran out of space to put, like I have a certain set area where I decorate, and it's pretty full. So I stopped doing the seasonal smalls and that kind of stuff. And I'm now doing larger pieces and simpler. So yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of depends on whatever you're in the mood for. And
right.
Yeah. So we're down to the last question. It kind of went pretty quick with chit chatting. But before we get to the last question, was there anything that you wanted to share that most people didn't know about you at all, or
like personal trait or
whatever you wanted to share? I know you're pretty open, like I am in your videos for your personal and life and that kind of stuff. So
yeah. One thing that most people don't realize about me, because I don't look maybe the part, is that I love heavy metal music.
What? Okay, that threw me off too, because
I'm a total headbanger.
That is awesome.
I'm all about, like in the 80s and 90s, I was all about Rat and Poison and Ozzy Osbourne and stuff like that. And then my kids would always try and surprise me with some really like off the wall hardcore music.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, I love that.
They're like, no, what?
I was never the mom, turn down your music. I was always like, turn it up. I like that song.
That's cool. That's a cool mom right there.
So most people just look at me and go, really? My one stepson played in a band, and it was screamo music. And I just absolutely loved it. I just thought it was, I could really see the appeal to it. I could see the talent that it took to make that kind of music.
Yeah.
It's a lot different than what most people think. But yeah, that's something most people don't think of when they see me.
All right. Yeah, that is something that I probably wouldn't have thought of. Just talking with you and stuff. That's pretty cool. Love that. So last question is my most favorite. And I say it in every interview, but I ask this for a reason, because the past couple of years have been rough for everybody. We all know. Right. So what is the best thing that has happened to you within the past couple of years?
There's been so many things. Just being able to start the Flosstube and to be able to do my own business, my finishing business, my quilting business, that has really been the best thing that's ever happened. I've always done like sewing and stuff from home and alterations to bring in extra money and stuff like that. But and many people know that my husband is my second husband. We've been married it'll be 11 years. But he is a huge supporter of follow your dream, do it, jump in, go ahead. I'm not putting the family into debt for it. So it's give it a try, do it, jump out there, see how it goes. So I think, since the pandemic, we've come to realize that living our dream is much better than making money all the time. Or working a 9-to-5 job that may not make us very happy. So I think that's the best thing, is that he's just a huge supporter of me diving into all of this. And yeah. So
sounds definitely like a keeper. That's a great guy.
He is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that, the past couple of years have been really rough, and you and I are kind of in similar boats now with
right.
You left your job. Mine was, I was let go, but it's a life-changing thing for both of us. And
It is.
it's good that we both have supportive husbands that kind of say, okay, go follow your dream now. And
Right.
yours is you're finishing and all that kind of stuff, which is pretty awesome. And
Right.
that's awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad you're at that. I'm glad that we met.
Me too.
I think that we'll have a good friendship, and we have a good connection. We have a lot of things in common, and
we do. And
Yeah.
I think we can grow together and do all sorts of things together. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Me too. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to do the interview. It was a lot of fun to learn more about you. Hopefully we get to meet in person, because that'll be fun. But until then, we'll say bye to everybody on Flosstube.
Bye. Thank you.